Picture this. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosophical sledgehammer of the 19th century, somehow scrolling through modern social media. What does he see? Tech billionaires quoting Marcus Aurelius between funding announcements, fitness influencers invoking Seneca as they flex their ABA, podcasters preaching emotional detachment as if it were the secret to wealth and six-pack discipline. Stoicism is everywhere, on Reddit forums, in airport bookstores, in sleek leather-bound pocket editions carried by executives who treat philosophy as a productivity hack. In this cultural revival, Stoicism has become a gospel. Focus only on what you can control. Accept what you cannot, and you'll achieve tranquility. In an anxious, volatile, and uncertain world, it sounds like the perfect prescription. And yet, if Nietzsche were alive today, his reaction would not be admiration, not respect, but thunderous disdain. He would call it what he always believed it was: life denial dressed as wisdom, spiritual anesthesia masquerading as strength. This is not just an abstract disagreement between philosophers. It's a clash of two visions of human existence. On one side, the Stoics, with their promise of serenity, stability, and alignment with nature's order. On the other, Nietzsche, who saw in Stoicism a refusal of life's chaos, a mutilation of passion, a betrayal of the very force that drives creation and greatness. So, tonight, let's dive into this collision, not just as a history lesson, but as a living question for us. Should we numb ourselves against life's storms, or embrace them and let them shape us? Should we seek peace above all, or vitality even if it means suffering? The cornerstone of Stoicism is simple yet profound. Live according to nature. The universe, they claimed, unfolds according to divine reason logos. Everything has its place in a rational order. If you harmonize your life with this cosmic logic, you'll achieve equanimity. That's why Marcus Aurelius could write in Meditations, "Whatever happens is part of a greater plan. Accept it with grace." But Nietzsche demolished this premise. For him, nature is not ordered. It's not kind. It's not rational. It is indifferent, amoral, and often merciless. Look at reality. Earthquakes don't discriminate. Cancer doesn't spare the virtuous. Predators kill without remorse. Ecosystems thrive on brutal competition. Nature is not a moral script. It is raw force, endlessly creative and endlessly destructive. Nietzsche accused the Stoics of projection. They didn't discover rational order in the cosmos. They imposed it. They looked into the swirling chaos and drew the faces of gods upon the clouds. Their harmony with nature was not science, it was wishful thinking. And nowhere was Nietzsche's contempt clearer than in his critique of Stoic emotional discipline. The Stoics sought apathy of freedom from disruptive passions. They aimed for tranquility, detachment, calm in the face of chaos. But Nietzsche saw this not as strength, but as mutilation. In The Gay Science, he mocked the Stoics with a visceral metaphor. They swallow stones, worms, glass, and scorpions, teaching themselves to feel nothing. Their stomachs become indifferent to whatever existence pours into them. Is this maturity, or is it To Nietzsche, a person who feels nothing at the loss of a loved one is not stronger, they are less human. A person who cannot be moved by beauty, passion, or righteous anger has not transcended life. They have hollowed themselves out. Stoicism, he argued, is philosophical Botox freezing the face of life into calmness, while draining it of vitality. For Nietzsche, emotions, grief, rage, joy, desire are not weaknesses to be overcome. They are the raw material of creation, the fuel of transformation. Without them, there is no art, no rebellion, no greatness. The Stoics, in seeking safety from pain, end up caging life itself. But modern defenders of Stoicism push back. They argue it isn't about numbness, but clarity. Massimo Pigliatti and Donald Robertson both insist Stoicism is proactive. Not suppressing emotion, but transforming it. Not resignation, but strategic focus on what matters. Marcus Aurelius himself didn't retreat from the world. He bore the crushing weight of empire. And yet, Nietzsche would still be unconvinced. Because the deeper problem, he believed, was that Stoicism defined virtue as sufficient for happiness, and in doing so, it neutralized the tension, the hunger, the passionate striving that fuels transformation. If you are already happy simply by being virtuous, why risk? Why create? Why rebel against injustice? This is where Nietzsche's alternative vision ignites. Against Stoic restraint, he proposed the will to power the drive not to conform to order, but to expand, to grow, to overcome oneself. Against the Stoic sage, tranquil and untouchable, Nietzsche raised the figure of the Bermensch, the overhuman who does not inherit meaning, but creates it, who embraces contradiction, who affirms life with all its terror and beauty. Where the Stoics seek stillness like a pond, Nietzsche urges us to become the storm, the river, the crashing wave. Where Stoicism builds walls against chaos, Nietzsche builds windmills to harness it. Consider the implications. A Stoic facing climate change might focus only on personal virtue, reduce their footprint, recycle, live simply, while accepting the larger crisis as beyond their control. A Nietzschean would channel rage into activism, let anger become fuel for transformation, and demand new realities. Stoicism survives the storm. Nietzschean thought becomes the storm, and here lies Nietzsche's most devastating critique. Stoicism, when adopted by systems of power, becomes a tool of compliance. Corporations teach resilience, acceptance, and stress management not to liberate workers, but to keep them enduring exploitation. Schools teach children resilience instead of fixing broken systems. Stoicism becomes a survival kit for life inside cages. Nietzsche wanted dynamite to blow up the cages. Yet perhaps the deepest contrast between them lies in their shared engagement with fate. The Stoics preached acceptance because fate flows from divine order. Nietzsche spoke of fate, but his amor fati, love of fate, was something radically different. For him, there is no divine plan. To love fate is not to accept a rational universe, but to affirm life even when it is brutal and senseless. Not to resign oneself, but to create meaning from chaos, imagined tragedy. The Stoic consoles himself. This, too, is part of the plan. Nietzsche offers no such comfort. Instead, he challenges you. Will you transmute this suffering into creation? Will you sculpt meaning from the raw stone of pain? And so, we are left with two philosophies, two medicines for the soul. Stoicism speaks to those overwhelmed by chaos, offering structure, calm, and clarity. Nietzsche speaks to those suffocated by control, offering fire, danger, and self-creation. Each responds to different human vulnerabilities. Each speaks to different types of souls. The question, then, is not which is correct for all people, for all time. It is which you need in this moment. Are you paralyzed by chaos? Stoicism may anchor you. Are you suffocated by stagnation? Nietzsche may set you ablaze. Perhaps wisdom lies not in choosing one system forever, but in discerning when to embrace tranquility and when to embrace dynamite, when to endure, and when to erupt. Life is too vast, too contradictory, to be contained in a single school of thought. And maybe that's the true gift of this philosophical clash. Not to give us a doctrine, but to awaken in us the courage to shift, to create, to affirm life in all its complexity. So the next time you see a quote from Marcus Aurelius on Instagram, ask yourself, is this moment calling for calm acceptance, or for Nietzsche's storm, for serenity, or for fire? Because philosophy, in the end, is not about slogans to live by. It is about the art of choosing how to live, again and again, in the face of a world that offers no guarantees.